Good morning, it's study day 20 and today it's all about study risk. So I want to talk a little bit about this because for a lot of you, taking a risk can be really stressful and can also raise that anxiety. You know, sitting an exam, you're taking a risk. Doing your studies, you're taking a risk. For some of you, this will be pushing you outside your comfort zone. And so this can then heighten your stress levels and heighten your anxiety as well, because it is uncertainty. So risk is always associated with this level of uncertainty that we have to endure, that we have to experience. Most of the time when we talk about risk, we think about it having a negative effect. But I would like to invite you to, again, turn this on its head and to really think about where you have maybe taken a risk that had a positive effect in the long term. For some of us, like myself, we might be risk takers, we might embrace risk, we might see the opportunity, we might see the positive in it as well. And that can be really helpful, but again, it can also go against us because we might not always foresee the consequences, or we might be naive about certain situations. So there are these two extremes where we can go from being really risk embracing and risk inviting to being really risk averse, because we don't want to push outside the comfort zone. So what is important is that we find a middle space, that we find the balance of where we can take risk that is a little bit outside the comfort zone, but at the same time doesn't have a negative impact in the long term. Okay? So if you now think about your own studies and particularly the assessments that are coming up, maybe you're taking a risk by saying, I have studied for something and I know that I haven't covered all the topics, so I'm taking the risk to sit the exam, hoping, crossing my fingers, that I can either get enough to pass the exam, or that I only get those topics or those questions that I've prepared for. That is another risk that you can take, right? And we did yesterday something around the what if. So this can be really helpful when you are worried about the risk that you're taking and how this could have an impact on you, on your stress levels and your anxiety, okay? So why don't you take a deep breath in and out. And then you can say to yourself, what if I'm okay taking a little bit of risk? What if I'm okay taking a little bit of risk? And then see how that lands with you. Equally, maybe you want to maybe play around with some of the poses that we have done and see how far you can go and take a risk in them. So whether it's playing around with crow pose, or whether it's maybe doing a headstand or a handstand, and just seeing where is this tipping point of where you go from comfortable to uncomfortable, where you go from certainty to uncertainty, where you can go from feeling safe to feeling unsafe and stressed and anxious. Okay, where is that tipping point? And then to be really becoming aware of that. And that can really help you to work with that feeling and to take a little bit of risk, one step at a time. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and let me know in the comments what sort of risks you're prepared to take and how you maybe go about that. Namaste.